Hello, I've got a new radio from RadioMaster. I always enjoy getting radios from RadioMaster because the build quality is very good and they really do tend to listen to their customers and bring out good products. This one is called the Pocket. The idea of this one, I believe, is it's very transportable. It's got like foldable sticks and stuff. It's very easy to chuck in a backpack. That's the idea. I haven't even got it out of the shrink wrap yet. So let's go do that. Let's go into close up, get this out, see what it's about. It should be a small radio that still runs EdgeTX, and it has, this one has Express LRS in it. You can get them with not a full multi-protocol module, but the, what's it called? The 2500 chip, I'm going to say. It's the one that runs the FreeSky protocols. Anyway, let's get it out, see what it's all about. Okay, the shrink wrap is off. Let's see what we've got here. And I've not seen this before. My genuinely first look, and well, at the moment it's in a bag, I think. Let's have a look. So I think it's already quite obvious what it's designed for, and that's to take about easily. I just see elsewhere in the box we seem to have a little screen protector, a USB cable, which is obviously USB-C as all things are now, and a quick start guide with some stickers. Okay, so what is in here? This is the Pocket, and my immediate question is, where are the sticks then? Ah, they're in the sides, like that. Now I had a quick look at the manual to see if there's a particular way of getting these sticks out, but there didn't seem to be, so I'm thinking you just get your nail in and it comes out like that. Other than that, it would not fall out of those. You see I've already got that one in, and these just screw in, which would be an awful lot smoother if I wasn't just looking through my viewfinder. Got a thing here, oh, and it rotates if you've got your antenna up a different direction, and you've got all the regular buttons here, which I can't read through the viewfinder. Return, page, tele, or sys, and model, and then you've got a rolly one here, and 2 sticks to set. And what you got switch wise, you've got a in and out switch there, you've got a free position there, another position there, and another in and out switch there. At the back you have got a module bay, and it is the micro module, which I think many people will know about, and this runs off two 18650s which are under there and should be installed, so I should be able to power it on or not. Aha, it seems to have a little thing on it to stop the battery going flat, so let's just take that off. A little tab there just to remove. Do you know, while I was just going around here getting the batteries out, I noticed there were 2 other switches, well, one other switch and a slider. You've got a momentary one there, and you've got a slider. That's nice and smooth. So those 2 are there, and underneath USB-C for, I think that's going to be the charge one, SD card already installed, and that is trainer, and that is normally the one you use to connect to a computer. It might be the way around. I can check that out. Let's have a look. So let's see if we turn on now. That's better.
Welcome to EdgeTX.
Ooh, look at that. Nice. And obviously this is just EdgeTX. There's nothing too special about this. If we go into system, go into Express LRS, RTX power goes up to 250 milliwatts. Now you will notice this is a rather fetching transparent shell, so you can see all the LEDs, you can see what's going on inside. But you can change these out if you like. So before I go out and fly with this, which I'll obviously do to see how it goes, I'm going to change that to a slightly more understated colour, sort of a translucent orange, just to see how easy or hard that is to do. Hopefully it's pretty easy. It should just be a case of taking off the top and shoving it in there. Well, we'll find out. Now, just looking how to change the case, I noticed on here there's some screw holes in the 4 corners, which would be behind the battery bays. So just took this off, took the battery out, and we do indeed have 2mm hex screws here and here, not to be confused with these other smaller screws which do things like the gimbal adjustment, so you can set it as mode 1 or check the tension on the throttle and stuff like that. So I'm going to just go through and take these out and see if it comes apart. Okay, and looks like there's a few more things to disconnect here, some other bits and bobs to go in the other side of the car, because mostly where the module bay is, by the looks of it, we can quickly unhook that and sort that out. Well, that's the radio open, but it's not doing the case swap is not nothing. You've got to then take all this out. These are loads of screws in here. The antenna has to come out, and I'll probably have to pop off that UFL to do it. All these little side bits got to come out. We've got to get this out, put it in this bit, which has a couple of battery connectors, but that's all. Yeah, so a little bit of work to do here, but let's see how it goes. Well, that is the bottom part done, and I have to say it's pretty fiddly. Just getting these buttons out and getting these realigned and putting in, it's quite hard work. So it's not, you know, easy snap on, snap off. So either order colour you like, or you really want to do it, because that's the easy part, and I still have to do this bigger bit yet. Okay, with this you've got 6 screws handily labelled. Disconnect the gimbals, disconnect the antenna from the module, and it should, I hope, lift up somewhat like this. Something still connected there to check out. Okay, so this was all the stuff underneath. You've got the screen, and you've got the connector to the main board and power. You've got a beeper here which has got a connector. You've got 2 connectors in each gimbals, and you've got this guy. This guy you have to sort of squeeze and pop off and then pop in before we put the main board back in. Nearly finished, I think. Just making sure everything connects back up. That's the only worry there. I don't like these little cables, but let's see what happens. Okay, well, it's back together. I think it's correct, but to say it's fiddly is an understatement. And I did have a problem. I put this together, I went to check everything and the switches, and the rotary wasn't quite on. And you see where it was off, it's made a little bit of a stress point in the plastic, but everything seems to work okay, at least in theory. I'll put it together and obviously make sure it does work electronically now. Well, the good news is it turns on and all the buttons seem fine and stuff. However, I've got a throttle stick that's on a spring now, and this spring is very tight as well, so good time to talk about exactly where you use the screws for changing that sort of tension. Okay, in the manual we've got all the places to change the throttle centering or stick tension. So for the throttle, and the only thing is you need kind of interesting things. You just keep turning this clockwise, and we're starting to get it going a bit better. I think we'll probably need a little bit more stick tension on there just to stop it being like that. There's quite a way it actually turns. Yeah, just I think that's a little bit floppy. You need a little bit more stick tension just to stop it flopping about a bit. So I'll do all there's various things for doing everything. I'll just get this back to normal and see what we get. Okay, we're done. Fairly happy with the tensions and the sticks now, and it's all back together and working. So yeah, off to fly it. And the idea is going to be, because obviously, you know, it's a working radio. The sticks feel pretty good. It's going to be a case of how's it feel, because we know the Express LRS module is going to be fine, but it's how's it feel in hand. It's quite a different shape. It's kind of boxy without this sort of cutaway section. Feels okay, kind of like a game controller thing, and the switches seem like you can get to them okay. So yeah, I'm going to find a quad and take it for a fly, but we'll just check the charging and the USB link port to the computer, make sure all that's good and how that works and things. Okay, so charging, you just plug a USB-C in the bottom, red light comes on. When it's fully charged it goes off again. So with the top USB, this is your data connection, plug it in and it'll prompt you what you want to do. I'm going to test this out using it as a joystick, but obviously you can do other things there. So this is picked up by the sim as its own joystick, which is great. I'm going ahead and testing it out with my own sim here, but all sims pretty much work the same way in terms of detecting joysticks, so you shouldn't have a problem. And this felt all good and very natural on the sticks, didn't have any cause for concerns or complaints. All the switches and buttons mapped correctly as well, so all good there. Now, because I've got the Express LRS version, it means I could run this as a Bluetooth joystick, which is kind of trying to say there on the screen. And that means pretty much the same thing. You can just connect as if this were a Bluetooth controller and fly it that way, albeit with the precision of better sticks. I don't tend to do this just because, you know, it kind of uses the battery when I don't need to. I'm quite happy with wide, but it's there. It doesn't seem to have any sort of lag, and it's all good. Well, hello there, and we're ready for testing. And by this point, you've probably seen your YouTube content filled up with reviews of it already, and that's because there was sort of an embargo date and everybody released their videos at the same time. Now, I didn't want to do that because obviously I hadn't flown it, and I didn't want to try and, you know, rush things. And I spoke to RadioMaster, said, look, it's not going to be out for this date. And of course they were very chill. They're like, you know, do it when you're ready. We're not bothered. So that's cool, and that kind of meets my new philosophy about making these videos about don't rush, don't try and push for things when like the conditions aren't right and stuff. Do it in your own time, which is what I'm doing. So the RadioMaster Pocket, can it fit in your pocket? Yeah, if you've got big pockets, but essentially you still need some other stuff. Now, I've got this little 22-litre tiny backpack, which is very different from my regular padded larger FPV backpack, but yeah, you still need some new stuff. So in here, apart from this plastic bag, which is for a bit of shopping for later for the family, I've simply got a quad to fly. I am flying the little baseline from Happy Model, which is on the walks now. This is interesting because there's not much light here. It's kind of overcast and we're under the trees, and whilst the version 2 Pro camera for walks now is very, very good, the non-Pro camera is not that good. It gets grainy, and this is the little 1S version of the camera. We've of course got the RadioMaster radio, the Pocket, which I just shoved in there because the good thing about it is if you're just going out for sort of a casual fly, you don't need some sort of big bag with, you know, cushioned little sections like my normal thing is, because it's actually made so it's very hard for the radio to get damaged. The antenna folds back nicely, the little sticks are obviously back, the front of it, although you've got potentially, you know, problems with that, there's a little raised bit there, and there's no sticky out switches. They're all on rocker switches, so they can't get hurt. So I'll just add the sticks into there. That's now ready to go. And then in the main section of the bag we have the walk snail goggles and some batteries. So although, yeah, the radio's small, even if you could fit in a pocket, could you also fit these in a pocket as well? And this is like a little quad, and I think that's what it might be useful for. You might have your big radio for stuff, if you want to go out just for a sneaky fly, you know, just in the woods and stuff. And I literally just walk around the woods looking for places to fly. This might be pretty cool. Of course it'll work with bigger things as well if you like the form factor, but yeah, this plus tiny backpack plus PS, yes, I did bring this GoPro with me. It wasn't just sat here in the woods for the last month. Should be pretty good. So I'm going to have a bit of a fly around and see how it goes. And first I have to try and get up, which with my knees, big. Give me 5. Yeah. We all make that noise, don't we, when we get to a certain age? Well, I probably haven't flown for about a good month, and I'm still quite new to walk snail and this quad, and the first thing I did is seem to hurtle off into the forest for no particular reason, feeling slightly out of control, thinking to myself, oh, this is quite quick, isn't it? But forgetting the fact that it hasn't got that much power, so when you hit a turn, you can often sort of hit something from behind. I mean, that one I hit something in front, thought I'd got away with it, then hit something and crashed it. Now, crashing is not normally a problem, but the thing I realised I forgot in my tiny backpack, although it wouldn't have taken any room, is spare props. I had a couple of sets of spare props. Why I didn't bring them with me, I don't know. It's kind of bent one of the props a bit, but I decided it would be okay. So I did another battery in this location just because I felt so out of practice I wanted to just, get back and get the feel of this quad, which I hadn't really flown enough. One thing I noticed I did is I left the radio in its like F1000 mode, which is not how I normally fly. I really don't need that sort of response from the sticks, because at my age I can't get anything like that sort of response from the sticks, and I wouldn't notice a difference. Which just an oversight on my part, but it doesn't hurt the fact that it's sending like 4 times as many packets to the quad that I need it to, just me fumbling around with the sticks. So how did the radio feel? It felt absolutely fine. It felt much like my other radios. The only thing you have to get used to when changing in between radios is, for me at least, where are the switches? Do they go nicely to my fingers? Can I, obviously I've got the goggles on, can I find them without a problem? And for the most part, yes. The only thing I managed to do was confused my arm switch with my beeper switch. So I was sort of pressing a button I thought was beeper when looking for it, and then noticing I had this little spinning of prop noise. It's like, oops, I've got those mixed up. But that's just a little bit of getting used to a new radio where the layout may be slightly different to the last one. Anyway, this second battery here went well enough that I didn't crash, so I decided I could risk moving on to elsewhere. So moving on to my second place to fly, and we were out like about a month ago walking the dog with my wife, and this looked gorgeous. All the sun was streaming down, little sort of flecks coming through the trees and stuff, and the ferns were up, and it looked really nice. After 2 weeks of rain and a bit overcast, it's not quite so nice, but still an interesting spot to fly. Just make sure I don't crash it into the ferns would be good. There's a little sort of walkway going through there, which maybe acts as a bit of a trench. I think we can go a reasonable distance down there, and then going back up the hill in the mud, got the boots on, there might be a little gap to try and fly up the hill through some sort of bent over trees and stuff, so we'll give it a go. What I'm going to do with this one, because it's so dirty and muddy on the floor, is keep my backpack on me, and when I crash I don't have to sort of have all my stuff down. I just basically put a couple of batteries in my pocket and be ready to move around as I go. Right, so off we go for our first tentative little fly, just really looking to see where I can go. And I was thinking to myself, oh, this is quite good, because I could see a lot of those little branches before they come up, and I was feeling quite confident about this. And then I hit this branch and it just froze there, and well, obviously it crashed in the meantime. Now, I thought I'd be able to go and drag the actual file off of the VTX to show you that crash properly, but that file got corrupted. This has happened before when something's gone slightly off, and I think, I don't know, it resets or something, you kind of lose the footage. So this is the 1080p footage off of the VTX for the next flight, which went a lot better. I'm just literally flying up and down because there's not enough space to do anything else. And if we go too far, of course, things start, getting a bit dodgy on the old avatar. But yeah, I'm starting to get the hang of it. And again, and I'm sort of thinking to myself, don't try and go fast, just go smooth, because if you're smooth, speed will come. And this is quite interesting because I'm not so used to digital HD flying. I kind of think, oh, look, this is very cinematic, because I can see what's happening. It makes me think I'm flying a DJI. But of course, this is not a cinematic quad. I mean, you can see the props and everything, but it's just, it's just fun actually being able to see stuff versus how analog looks. I can see where I'm going, which is nice. So yeah, I was feeling I was starting to get the grips with it. It's a bit of a weird quad. It doesn't really have the power to really sort of rip, but it's not cinematic enough to, get, proper cinema stuff. But I'm just enjoying cruising around. I am legitimately going out, having a good time, flying in new places, which is really what it's all about, isn't it? So just behind where I was, I had to walk down this hill, which doesn't look like much of a hill when you fly it because it flattens down. But I thought it might be nice because all the trees kind of come over it. And again, it's a small corridor, but I thought, yeah, that'd be fun to fly. At least if I crash it, it's basically on the path. I don't know where it is. That's the other thing I quite like about digital, being able to see the path. On analog, it's fairly good, but sometimes the contrast is not high enough on the path and I lose it completely. You could see the goggles just try and go into focus mode there, because although we're quite close, there is a lot of greenery in between us. And I was thinking to myself, I know what I do. On the turn, I'll be a lot more gentle. I'll slow up, so there's no chance of me sort of, overshooting and crashing. Nice and slow. And what I do, I catch a little stupid twig. And I thought, hey, I'm up the top of this hill anyway. There's a little more of a corridor to fly down. So I thought, I'll fly along here. I'll go a little while until I sort of, start to see some dodginess. Or I come out at a place and I was like, oh, that's focus mode's kicking in, I better turn around there. And then I was sort of going down here and I was like, yay, this is fun. This is nice and quick, isn't it? And I sort of turned to go the right way here. And then I thought to myself, oh, this corridor's a bit thinner. It's a lot harder to turn. And then I crashed again. Well, that was fun. And I got through all the batteries and I think I crashed every single one pretty much. But fortunately, that little quad is easy to find because of the walk snail rangefinder and the RSSI I use, because the beeper is so quiet you have to be like within a couple of feet of it. But yeah, it was good fun trying to fly up and down these things and then not being able to turn around. I must remember, I'm quite new to flying that quad and quite new to walk snail, and I didn't think about like how I could just instantly switch around and go back. It sort of zipped out a bit because it hasn't got that much power. It's kind of a hybrid thing now, I find. It feels like it's more suited to cruisy things rather than going crazy fast, because it doesn't really have the power for it. Well, it has the power for going one direction, but if you want to stop quickly, not so good. Anyway, let's go on back to the office and let's wrap up about this radio. So that was my experience with the radio. I liked flying the quad with it, and I crashed it a lot, and I still had a bunch of fun. And the radio felt pretty good. It's very good if you've got small hands. I don't particularly have small hands, but I'm very used to playing video games with controllers. But people who do have small hands, and particularly women and children, not big blokes with big hands, they weren't very well catered for previously. And it started to change. The TX12 has the same stick distance, and that's particularly good if you've got small hands as well. At first I thought it was more like the Zorro, but the Zorro is actually quite chunky in comparison, and its sticks are further apart and it's a bit more to it. Even the TX12, which I'd say is a nice light radio, is not as light as the Pocket. But I did do it a little bit of a disservice, because I've got like a cupboard full of radios. I sort of pick and choose depending on the complexity of the model I'm flying about, or what I want, what am I used to here. But this isn't just a radio for travelling, of course. You can do a lot with it. The thing about it, and the amazing thing about it, is it's $65. That is extremely good value. And for that you get these lovely sticks. And by lovely sticks, I mean if you're in beta flight and you can jam it around and you just let it go, it centres directly back to the 1500 U6. It does not deviate, it is straight back there. If you look at my old radios, like the pre-haul gimbal things like the Tyrannus, it's like a random number generator. It does this, and you have to tune that completely out on Betaflight, but this is very nice. This is the Express LRS version. It goes up to 250 milliwatts. For all you people thinking, oh no, only 250, you can go kilometres and kilometres on that. That is absolutely not a problem. If you really feel inclined, you can always put another module in and do something different. But honestly, that is a lot of power on a small little radio. So what I'm saying is, it's not just a travel radio, something you will chuck in your pocket if you've got big pockets or small backpack. It is a great starter radio. It is good if you're coming over to Express LRS for the first time. It's nice and simple, and it is lovely to carry around. Of course, it's running HTX, which is extremely good and extremely powerful, and you can do lots of things on the mixers as per normal. And you put different modules in, fly a bunch of models, basically. It's very, very good. Did I mention it was only $65? My only word of caution, and you saw me kind of struggle a bit at the start of the video, is if you want to change your colour, be sure about it, because I found it quite fiddly. There was a lot of stuff to take out, put back in, and there's a specific way of doing it and little cables to put through. That's quite tricky. These do come in a range of very bright and interesting colours, so you can definitely get a nice one. But if you want to change it, just be sure about it, because I found it quite fiddly. Anyway, this of course has been the RadioMaster Pocket, and many thanks to RadioMaster for sending it along. And of course there's links down below if you want to check this out in more detail. I hope that's been helpful. I hope you enjoyed travelling around with me, a crashing quad. I certainly had fun with it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.